group of Central American migrants marched peacefully to a border crossing in Tijuana on Thanksgiving Day, pleading for better conditions and the right to ask for asylum in the U.S. Mexican police watched closely as authorities from the National Human Rights Commission and a migrant support agency told the migrants their needs would be addressed. Yesterday, President Donald Trump threatened to close the U.S. border with Mexico for an undisclosed period of time if he believes Mexico has lost control of its side of the border. In fact, the U.S. Border Patrol practiced a possible border shutdown yesterday near San Diego. It only lasted a few minutes, but it drew a lot of attention. Hundreds of border officials dressed in full tactical gear participated in that drill, which included a temporary halt to vehicle traffic at the border. Officials would not confirm if the exercise was in response to the Migrant Caravan demonstration that was happening at the same time at the nearby pedestrian U.S. entry point.
So many people that they are protesting for what time they're gonna cross, of if they're gonna go to Canada or here, but they don't want to stay in Mexico.
There are reports of escalating frustration this week among the 4,500 Central American migrants who are overcrowding shelters throughout Tijuana.
With around 5,000 migrants now on Mexico's side of the border, President Trump is threatening, as you just heard, to shut the southern border completely.
If we find that it's uncontrollable, Josh, if we find that it gets to a level where we are going to lose control or where people are going to start getting hurt, we will close entry into the country for a period of time until we can get it under control.
The entire border?
The whole border.
And with around 5,800 U.S. troops now deployed to the border, President Trump compared the work those troops are doing with the work the U.S. military is doing around the world as he spoke to some of those stationed overseas on Thanksgiving Day.
You want to make sure that you know who we're letting in, and we're not letting in anybody, essentially, because we want to be very, very careful. So you're right. You're doing it over there, we're doing it over here, and your people at the border.
At the border yesterday, U.S. Customs and Border Protection shut down vehicle traffic at the San Isidro port of entry for what they termed a large-scale operational readiness exercise. It wasn't clear whether it was directly related to the ongoing caravan situation. And on the Mexico side, a group of around 500 migrants marched toward the border yesterday to demand better living conditions as they prepare for what could be a months-long wait to get their asylum applications processed. They were met and stopped by Mexican police. And Secretary of State Mike Pompeo reiterated President Trump's point yesterday, saying, quote, "The caravans will not be permitted to enter the United States." Secretary Pompeo also acknowledged the dangers the migrants face and said, Rick, the U.S. will work with Mexico to meet the challenges the caravans have created.
Meanwhile, for nearly 6,000 troops deployed to the U.S.-Mexico border, the work continues, and it's still not clear if they will remain in place beyond December 15th. Our border reporter Oscar Margain explains how soldiers there are spending this holiday.
Well, for troops here in Camp Donna, they'll be spending much of their time indoors because of this cold and drizzly weather, but that doesn't mean that celebrations are canceled. Quite the contrary. Knowing they'll be spending Thanksgiving with each other rather than back home with family, servicemen and women have been getting ready for a good shindig. The kitchens have been working to feed roughly 1,400 soldiers, and that's 3,000 servings of turkey, 800 servings of sirloin steak, and all the fixings, plus leisure activities, including a chance to call their families.
No, the soldiers are going to miss their families, but you know, the Army leadership here is dedicated to making sure that the soldiers have a fantastic Thanksgiving here on location, and the residents, the local populace here have been contributing to that as well.
Major Wamsley said that the troops here have been well received by the local community. Some people have brought donations and treats. He says that's helped troops with morale here at Camp Donna. Now, no word yet on how long the troops will remain deployed. There is a tentative date for withdrawal of December 15th, with hopes that the soldiers will get to go back home just in time for Christmas. In Donna, on the Texas-Mexico border, I'm Oscar Margain reporting.
President Trump threatening to shut down the entire border as the remaining caravan looms closer.
It gets to a level where we are going to lose control or where people are going to start getting hurt, we will close entry into the country for a period of time until we can get it under control.
The entire border?
The whole border. I mean, the whole border.
Now, what does that mean for our future of border security? Well, here to weigh in is former acting ICE director and Fox News contributor Tom Homan. Tom, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
We had a great Thanksgiving. Well, let's get started on this topic here. What do you think this means when the president says we're going to shut down the border? Does he mean all of it, all trade? What does it mean actually in effect?
Well, I think it depends on what the reaction of Mexico is going to be to that statement, right? I mean, this isn't the first time the border's been shut down. I remember in 1985, I was a Border Patrol agent when the president shut down the border when a DEA agent, Kiki Camarena, disappeared in Mexico. Mexico wasn't doing a lot to help, but of course, when they shut that border down, right away, they were able to find the body of the DEA agent, found the people that were responsible for torturing and killing them. So I think the President Trump sending a message that, you know, if this gets out of control, I'll shut the border down and maybe make Mexico, even though Mexico's done have assisted us by offering asylum to a few thousand of these people, maybe they'll patrol their southern border a little bit more, stop these caravans coming in.
Well, Tom, it's two threats, actually. He's threatening Mexico, you better help us on this, but also he's threatening Congress. And he says, unless I get the money to build the wall, and there are a lot of people in that building behind you, the round one, who don't want to give him the money, including Republicans. And he says, if I don't get the money for it, I might shut the government down.
Hey, look, I've said it for months now that the reason there's a caravan on the border, the reason the borders, the numbers are high right now is because Congress has failed to act. They failed to build a wall. They have failed to close the loopholes that are causing these caravans. They have failed to raise a bar for asylum. They have failed to give ICE enough beds so they don't have to catch and release. They have failed to change the Florida settlement agreement that we can actually hold families long enough to see a judge. These loopholes, I was up on Hill numerous times myself meeting with Congress about closing these loopholes. And I've said many times before, if anybody wants to put a blame on what's going on the border, it's Congress. They need to look in the mirror. They have failed the American people.
Tom, let me ask you quickly, because you're raising all of the issues that I heard from the Border Patrol when I was down there, from the loopholes to the number of bodies, and clearly the president is trying to do everything he can. But now we've got this caravan, which I was in for a time. It's larger than it's ever been. How important do you believe it is, trying to set politics aside, as hard as that is, how important do you believe it is that the president and the hardening of this border, how important is that to succeed?
It's vital. Look, everybody's watching what's going on right now, and if we do not secure this border, if we let these people come in and they get released, not to show up in court, or even if they show up in court, get ordered, don't leave. If we don't have a hard response and protect the sovereignty of this country right now, there's going to be more caravans. This is just the beginning. So we got to act decisively. We got the right president to do that. He's taken a hard line on this. He threw the gauntlet down. I praise him for that. And we all hands on deck. And the game's on, and everybody's watching. Our response is very important to what's going to happen in the future.
Do you think that the new Mexican government is going to react differently than the current government when that takes place?
I hope so. Look, I think the reason why Mexico hasn't done everything they could do is because you got one outgoing president, one ingoing president. They both want to punt to the other president on this issue. It's not a popular issue for Mexico, but Mexico needs the United States. They need that free trade and commerce. So I'm hoping the new president comes in and takes a new look at this and defends the southern border. They're a sovereign country too, and I think the Mexican citizens are finally speaking up. They've had it also.
Yeah.
So Tom, López Obrador comes in just a few days in December. What should he do? What's the first thing the Mexican president should do?
He should defend his southern border. That's the first thing, to stop any future caravans that are coming in, and listen to his citizens. I think he needs to, if you look at international law, if these people are really escaping fear and persecution, which based on the data I've seen, not true, he can offer them asylum in Mexico, and he needs to work with the United States on bringing these people into metered response through the port of entry, not illegally. Mexico can do an awful lot to assist us. They've done some, and they can do more.
Well, here's the thing, Tom. According to Kamala Harris, senator from the great state of California, sending those troops down to our southern border, just a stunt for the TV cameras.
If anybody's pulling a stunt, it's Kamala Harris. She's ridiculous. She's ridiculous by the point that she called she equated the men and women of ICE to the KKK. Here we are at Thanksgiving, and what I hope your listeners are paying attention to is this political hate coming from the left. Because when I was having Thanksgiving dinner yesterday with my family watching football games, there's thousands of Border Patrol agents standing in that front line. And Griff, you've been down there, and we see these aliens coming across, and they jump the fence, and Border Patrol agents grab them. Let me tell you what happens to most of the southern border, is that in the middle of the night, a sensor goes off on a trail leading from Mexico to the United States, and a Border Patrol agent stands on that trail waiting to take that on, doesn't know if it's an illegal alien looking for a job or a drug smuggler has a lot of guns. We've had Border Patrol agents killed on that border. While we slept last night and had dinner with our families and watched football, these brave men and women are on the border. So shame on Kamala Harris comparing our law enforcement officers to a hate group. It's just, it's shameful on her part.
Well, God love them for all those agents down there. Tom, that's a great point. And thank you for your service and waiting with us this morning. Thank you.
The president is bound and determined to stop this caravan from making its way to the U.S. border and over into this country. But right now he's actually asking Congress to do something, Rick, and I think that really is what they're hoping that the congressional lawmakers will do on Capitol Hill. Again, let me take you to Twitter. And again, the president is imploring them to help him out so that he doesn't have to continue to escalate the fight. He says Republicans and Democrats must come together, finally, with a major border security package, which will include funding for the wall. After 40 years of talk, it's finally time for action. Fix the border for once and for all now. The president, in fact, ratcheted up the intensity of this debate yesterday, saying yes, he would authorize the use of lethal force if necessary to stop the caravan. In fact, he confirmed that he's already done that. That caravan, by the way, numbers in the thousands.
If they have to, they're going to use lethal force. I've given the okay. Yeah, if they have to, I hope they don't have to. But, you know, you're dealing with a minimum of 500 serious criminals. So I'm not going to let the military be taken advantage of. I have no choice.